What is up, Shadow Zone fans? This is Brian James, your ghost host with the most. And let me tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, we have a dynamite show tonight. But before we get this show up and rolling into high gear, Shadow Zone Paranormal Podcast and Global United Paranormal Foundation is sponsored by Ghost Energy Drink. If you're feeling down and you need a pickup during an investigation, drink a Ghost and get your spiritual energy and physical energy right back up. And also don't forget to go to your Google Play Store and download the Parapost Network app. It's a Facebook-like atmosphere, but geared towards the paranormal. It runs on Android, Apple iOS, laptops, computers, and tablets. And hey, if you don't want to download the app, just go to parapost.net and get started now. Oh, and by the way, it's free. Without any further ado, I think one of these guys is going to come on with me. What's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on, man? You didn't catch me in the middle of my coffee again, which is good. So, I'm happy about that, Brian. How you doing, man?
Hey, it's been a really rough week, but I'm here and I'm living.
It's been a rough week. I agree with that. I'm stoked for it to be over with, man. But before we get it done with this week, we've got some pretty good things on tonight. We got a couple of surprises for the folks. One person we just never see on here is our other co-founder. He never wants to join us. He's always busy working, and they're always kidnapping him, and he can't ever come on here with us. And tonight he's just he's decided to bless us with his presence, and I'm really excited about that. So, why don't I just go ahead and bring this young man out, and so he can show his face once and for all.
Well, that sounds good.
Hey, I gotta go to work, guys. See you later.
Put a pair of sunglasses on, folks. He's gonna blind you.
What's up, Jason?
How we doing, brother?
How are we doing tonight?
Wonderful.
Everything's very good. Yeah, everything's going good.
Guys, I gotta say, I am really, really stoked for this one tonight. I set this up. I've been waiting, man. I've been watching the clock.
What's the big excitement for, man? You got all three of us right here. What's the hype? I don't understand.
Bigger than that? What's bigger than that?
Couldn't be anything really bigger than that, could there?
You guys want to find out, or you guys want me to give you a few hints first?
Give me a hint. I want a hint.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. He's got a killer book out, and he does work for the paranormal. But here's the real kicker. He's an actor, producer, coordinated stuntman, and stuntman, and he's done over 75 movies in his 35-year career.
Get out of here! You're kidding me right now. Who could have accomplished that much in an entire lifetime? I mean, what is this guy, like 90 years old?
I wouldn't guess his age, guys.
Is it Bill Cosby?
He's 6'4" and about 240 pounds, and has two buddies that are known for killing people.
Oh, well, who could be known for killing people? Who's to guess? Kane Hodder. There we go. Kane Hodder. I heard he don't like doing podcasts though.
You never know. It might be TA. Mr. Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3.
Are you serious? Do we have TA on here? No. And I know it can't be Rick McCallum. Rick McCallum's just
he wouldn't waste his time with us.
No, yeah, we're way too little of a podcast for that guy, man. No, he wouldn't bother with us. You guys want to find out who it is?
Bring him on. Let's see who it is.
I give up.
All right, you sure, guys?
Absolutely.
Now remember, mind your P's and Q's with this guy, or he'll send his two killer buddies after you.
Okay, we'll keep that in mind.
We'll try and keep it in mind, yeah.
Here you go, boys.
Oh, it's Rick McCallum.
Oh, Rick McCallum. How are we doing?
I can't waste my time with the like you.
Rick McCallum, brother, welcome to the
He's
show.
actually telling the truth.
Right, right.
I have to tell you the truth, though. The mean one out of the three of us is me. Kane and RA
No,
are really
I
nice
can-
compared to me.
I could see that. I could see you beating up Kane Hodder and TA on a constant, giving them noogies and
No,
titty twisters and.
nobody noogies Kane.
Guys, did you see this guy?
And,
Did you see
and
him on?
if you call RATA, he may come give you a noogie.
Yeah.
His name's RA Mahaloff.
Did you guys see this guy in Dark Wolf? I mean, he's vicious, man.
I think that movie almost killed me. I don't know if you know that. When I went off the hood of the car going 20, 25 miles an hour into the steel barrels. Yeah. That one left a mark.
Yeah. The monster you played in Deep Star 6 though was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that was. You know who made that monster was Greg Nicotero, who's one of the executive producers now of Walking Dead.
Really?
Yeah, he had a thing. I think he still does called Can-Be Effects, where he makes these fantastic creatures and things like that. So, yeah, I was lucky enough to get to play the monster in that.
Now, Rick, I have to ask, man. I've been a horror movie fan since I was born, and
You can tell looking at
what's
him.
it like working with the likes of Kane Hodder and other celebrities in Hollywood?
Well, it depends on the celebrities. 95% of the celebrities are really cool. I mean, they really are. And then there's other ones that you just stay away from. Kane is not one of the ones. Well, Kane's my best friend, so I get to pick on him, and he picks on me, and that's just the way it is. But I've been lucky to actually work with most of the horror celebrities at one time or another.
Have you ever worked with Robert Englund?
I've never worked with him, but I've met him several times at like conventions and stuff. He'll come over and talk to Kane, and I'll be there and I'll talk with him.
Now you do some work with somebody from the Halloween series, don't you, Rick?
Well, I have done stuff with them, like did coordinate a fight scene between Bill Goldberg, the wrestler, and Tyler Mane, who has also played Michael Myers. So yeah, that was really interesting. Standing between Bill Goldberg and Tyler Mane, who's 6'9". And
Yeah, some big guys.
I was like, damn, big.
That had to make you feel like a midget compared to those two guys.
Well, I got to tell you, they're not even close to being the biggest guy we've ever worked with.
No,
Who's that?
Well, one guy I actually had a fight. It was a movie called Love in the Time of Monsters, and I had to fight a guy that was a Bigfoot. And they actually had an actor who was 7'4" playing the Bigfoot.
Oh wow!
So I had to scrap with him.
Yeah.
But the biggest individual I've ever seen is. Hi, Aaron Bush. I hear a little girl talking. But the biggest person, have you guys seen the movie Troy?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a guy named Nathan Jones who's just gigantic. And he's the guy that Brad Pitt runs out and stabs in the neck right at the very start. And I mean, this guy is enormous. He's got to be 6'11", 7 foot, and probably 340 pounds, and every ounce of it is muscle. And,
Now,
yeah,
the guy you're talking about, he's completely bald-headed.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. He had a short wrestling stint at in WrestleMania 19. He was supposed to team up with The Undertaker, and got jumped in the back and never showed.
I don't know. I know he was in one of them. I don't know, but that guy is just massive. I actually doubled him in a scene on that movie, but it was because they only show him from the waist down. I had to jump on the hood of a car and then kick the windshield in, and kicking a windshield in is not that easy. I mean, you can do it, but a lot of times you go right through it, you get stuck and fall off the side and rip your leg off. So
Oh no.
I just told him, I said, dude, I think I better do this one. He says, I think so. So
So you've had a fantastic career. You started out with a fight scene with Chuck Norris and Lone Wolf McQuade, and what made you go from Hollywood to the paranormal?
just the opposite. I went from paranormal to Hollywood and was doing both at the same time. I started, my first paranormal thing happened when I was 13. So, and my first movie was, I was like 26, I think, something like that.
Would never have guessed that.
Yeah,
What was your first paranormal experience? What was your first paranormal experience?
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear there. I heard like a child talking.
Sorry, my 4-year-old son, he's nonverbal autistic.
Well, he's pretty verbal. I can hear him.
You can hear him on a good night. He drowns everybody out.
Well, tell him I said hi. First paranormal experience I ever had was in Paducah, Kentucky when I was 13. I lived in Chicago with my mom, and we didn't have a lot of money. And my grandfather had died in one of those gun cleaning accidents, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
And he wanted to be buried in Paducah, Kentucky. And his name was Kelly. His last name was Kelly. Well, we put him on the train, and we went on the train, down to, to bury him. And they took the body off and they put it in the funeral home. And we had no time to make any plans. So we just walked to try and find a hotel. So fortunately, we were pretty close to downtown. And the first thing we saw was a thing looked like a set out of a horror movie. It was a 2-story brick building with a flickering neon light up above, on the second floor. I mean, it was, not in the best section of town. But we went in there and my mom asked, do you have a room? And he goes, well, we have one left. And she asked how much it was. And she says, all right, we'll take it. He goes, well, I have to tell you something. It's haunted. Now, I was 13 and I barely knew my grandfather. So my reaction was kind of like, yes, woohoo! Golden ticket to Disneyland, yes. So anyway, we go in there and it looks like a volleyball court sideways. It's all wooden floors, right? It's about 20 some feet wide. And on each side of the room, there's a rolling bed on each side. Well, we'd had a long day going on a train to Kentucky and all the other stuff we did and the walking. So we went to bed, and in the middle of the night, I heard my mother scream. So I sat up in my bed, and I looked, and her bed was just racing across the floor. And I was like, what the hell? And then I realized mine was too, and they smashed together in the middle. And we just sat there and looked at each other. I was like, right?
Yeah, what do you do?
And my mother looked at me, and we're quiet for like 5 seconds, and she goes, I think the guy downstairs is right. So we tried to debunk it. Now, this is long before any of the TV shows anybody had ever heard the word debunk. But my mother was very smart, and she says, let's try and figure out, maybe the floor was warped. So we took a glass and put it on its side and rolled it, and it wouldn't roll. So we tried it the other side, and it wouldn't roll. So the floors weren't warped. So I took the bed, and I got behind it against the wall and shoved it as hard as I could, and it went about 3 feet. Now, these two beds went about 15 feet and smashed in the middle, and they were moving when they hit. So after that, this is what I always like to do. This is visual, seeing as we're on there. After that happened, I was
hooked.
I was hooked.
So, Rick, we got a question from the audience. Ghosting Paranormal GP, they want to know that it says, so the paranormal got you into horror movies.
No, Kane Hodder got me into horror movies, actually, which is pretty much to be in paranormal, having him be your best friend.
Definitely not normal, right?
Yeah, that's not normal at all.
Well,
actually, he got me into horror movies. I think the first real horror movie that I worked on. Now, there was a couple others that were real. There's like B movies, these were so bad they went right to audio. The first couple of movies I did, they were boy. But I think Deep Star 6 was one of the first horror movies I did.
I mean, I gotta say, I love horror movies like the mainstream go to the theater, then to HBO and DVD. But there's always been a soft spot for me in the B-lister horror movies.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. You can see a lot of those on Mystery Science Theater, right?
But yeah. So you started out with the paranormal, and then what got you wanting to do stunts for movies?
Well, my dad always says in my book, by the way, thank you for saying it. The name of the book is Ghosts Believe in Me. It's on Amazon. It actually won the 2020 Paranormal Awards Paranormal Book of the Year. So I'm pretty proud of that. It's a pretty good book. But one of the stories is my dad and mom took me to a John Wayne movie when I was very, very young, like 3 years old. And there was a scene where one of the wagons goes off the cliff, right? So I had one of those little pedal cars, and our house was a split level. So there were stairs that were, inside the house. And my dad says, they're sitting there watching TV later on, and all of a sudden they see me go just roaring on my little thing, and he gets up to try to catch me. And I went right off the steps. I flew all the way to the bottom, did a nose plant. My face hit the ground, from all the stairs I flew over. Got 2 black eyes for my effort. But my dad always said, he goes, yep, right then I knew what you were going to do. He says, there's no doubt. And after that, I just always been, really interested in it. I watched the movies to see how they were doing stuff, and just really took a big interest in it, and figured I'd just go harass them until they hired me.
Yeah, there you go. So I got to know, in the fight scene with Chuck Norris, him, Van Damme, and Jackie Chan are my 3 favorite all-time martial arts movies. But what did he ever slip and actually catch you with one?
No.
With a kick or a punch or anything?
No, actually, it's a good thing too, because the kick that he did, there's 2 of us on each side of him, and there's this bandito in front of him telling him that his, Texas Ranger kicked his father's teeth out, right? And of course, guess what happens? He kicks the bandito in the face, and I've got the machine gun, and he flips me over his shoulder, and I go on the ground and drop the gun. Then he turns around and kicks the other guy, and he goes down. And I'm on my hands and knees going to get the gun, and he runs over, just boots me in the face, and kicks me right out of the screen. So, I mean, if he had hit me with that, it would have done some serious damage. But he was 4-time world champion. He was pretty good. He
knows his stuff.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
What do you think, guys? You guys got any questions for our guest?
Oh man, Rick's done a lot of things in his life, man, especially with Hollywood and now with the paranormal. I'd like to know, Rick, you work with, are you still working with Hollywood Ghost Hunters, or are they a thing of the past?
Well, it's my group.
There you go.
Shameless plug.
Actually, I am doing more ghost hunting by myself, because one of the things that happened is after we started this, I mean, I think a lot of people saw us when we were on Ghost Adventures. I think that's where they first got the idea about us.
Yeah, of course.
Is that Kane and R.A. both live in different states now. So all 3 of us are in different states. So and Kane is like the busiest man in show business. If he's not doing a movie, he's at a convention. And when he finally gets a day off, he goes and spends it with his wife and his kids. So, and the other thing is Kane's, he's one of the top recognizable horror movie guys in the world. And they're not going to pay somebody to be on a TV show what he gets paid to do a movie. So, but we still will ghost hunt together if we happen to be in the same spot. So it's still active, but most of my time is spent overseas or here doing different ghost hunts. Like I do ghost hunts with Spirit Realm Just did one last Friday. Last month, I just did one on Monday down in Arizona, and then Dark Zone.
Yeah.
I do a lot of Dark Zone stuff. Just did a ghost hunt Monday at the LAPD Museum, so I'm pretty busy. And I'm actually a member of Scottish Paranormal, and which is a fantastic group. And I'm actually, I'm going to brag a little bit because I'm actually in their Hall of Fame. And the reason I brag about that is because I'm not in any other Hall of Fames, and I doubt I'll ever be in any other one. So I'm bragging about this. No, actually, the reason I'm so proud of it is because they are such a great group, and they're more than that than they're a great group of guys. So, very happy to be a member of that.
So,
you
you
know,
got a trip coming up in Scotland here shortly. What's that consist of?
Oh, well, I'm actually the ambassador for a tour to Scotland where we're going to go to 9 different castles in different places in 9-day tour. And we're actually going to have 3 ghost hunts while we're there. And Scottish Paranormal is going to help us. And it should be a fantastic thing because, matter of fact, if you look behind me, that is downtown Edinburgh, Scotland. And it's right near where I always stay. So I know that area very well. So it's a great place. A lot of people don't realize that Scotland was voted the most beautiful country in the world. And it really is. I mean, you go there, you'll fall in love with the place. 2 things you never see in Scotland: litter and graffiti, because the people have pride in their country.
Nice.
And they happen to be the nicest people in the world. And I always tell this story. If you go up to a girl here in the United States, say, "Excuse me, can you help me?" They go, "Oh, please, we can do better than that." But if you go up to a girl in Scotland and say, "Excuse me, I'm from the United States. I'm trying to find how to get here. Can you help me?" They'll go, "Well," and pardon the accent because I do a shitty accent, but I'm going to do it anyway. They'll go, "Well, here's what you're going to do now. You're going to go down the street and you're going to see a man drinking a pint. That's going to be McGinty. You take a left at McGinty, you're going to see a man with a carriage horse and a top hat. Wait a minute, he might be out with the horse. Come on, I'll take you." It's just the way that. I'll tell you another story. I got big-headed because I'd been there like 3 years in a row, and I had friends at multiple hotels. Okay. And I usually would put my whole thing, get my reservations for a month out in all these different places. And I thought, I'll just do it when I get there. So I did 4 days of Edinburgh. And after 2 days, I said, I'm going to go stay in Roslyn for the weekend, right next to Roslyn Chapel. And I go out there, and the girl that runs the place is coming out of the back room. And I said, "Hi, Amy, I want to get a room for this weekend." She goes, "Oh, we're full up." And I went, "What?" I mean, because it's a little tiny inn. And it's never filled up. I've been the only guest there many times. And I said, "You're filled up." She goes, "You don't know what's going on, do you?" And I said, "Well, that's very frequently the case." Right? So she starts laughing and she goes, "The European Rugby Championships are here." She says, "I just got off the Master Hotel thing and there's not a room between Edinburgh and Glasgow." I was geez. That's what I said right there. Oh, geez. I said, "Do you know anybody else?" And she says, "There's another inn not too far from here, a woman named Carolyn." So I called her up and she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, we're all full up." And I went, "Oh, dang it." And she goes, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Well, I usually come here for 3 weeks to a month. I save up all year to come." I said, "I've been here 2 days and it looks like 2 days from now I'm going to have to get on a plane and go home." And she goes, "Can I call you back?" And I said, "Sure." So she calls me back about half an hour. Now, remember, I've never met this girl ever. Right? And she goes like this. She goes, "I want to see if there's something you'd like to do." I said, "What's that?" She goes, "My mom is going to England for 2 weeks and she says you can use her house."
Oh, wow.
What? Right? And then I went, "Well, how much does she want?" She goes, "Oh, don't you dare offer her money. She'll get mad." A lady I've never met let me live in her house for 2 weeks.
Wow.
That's what that's what they're like. I mean, they're just magnificent people.
So when you're in the Scotland trip here, is that trip going to include going to Ireland as well for the Leap Castle?
No, thank goodness. Had enough of Leap Castle.
I can you tell us, like what it was that you don't want to go back there too much for?
Well, actually, I really do want to go back there because I know that what happened wasn't part of Lep Castle. It's the last story in my book. And I'll just give you the superficial because it's a long story. We'd been at the Hellfire Club in Dublin. And as we were leaving, a couple of the guys were complaining about having a pain behind their right eye, but then it went away. Well, I get in the car, and as we get to Lep Castle, we're an hour early, and they're having like a party in there. So we park out on the street. And if you can imagine, it's all hedges and nothing but farmland. I mean, for as far as you can see, there's nothing out there. So we get out of the car, and the guys run up because it took a while to get there. They're over there behind the bushes doing their business. And I'm standing out there, and it's really windy and cold. And I'm like, oh, this feels great. I grew up in Chicago. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Right. So they say, come on, get in the car. I said, no, man, leave me out here. This is nice. Right. Let me stretch my legs. And then right then I got a pain in my eye that felt, and the way I described it, it felt like someone took a spear and ran it right through my eye. I felt it go through my head and out the back. And I grabbed my eye, and water just started pouring out. And the first thing I thought is that my eyeball exploded because the pain was so strong and the water was coming, just gushing. And it almost knocked me out. I started staggering back across the street. And I looked down and I went, you know what? You know how to fall down. You might as well do it while you still can and beat the rush because that's where you're going to end up, right? I started to go to the ground and I heard a voice say, if you hit the ground, you'll never get up. So being the somewhat smart guy I am, I switched gears, threw it into reverse, and staggered over to the car and grabbed onto the side of the car. Well, Allie Reed, one of the guys from Scottish Paranormal, saw me staggering out there, and he jumps out of the car, and he grabs me, he takes me behind the car, and they get me a bottle of water, and I'm drinking. And he says, come on, get in the car. I said, no, man, I'm really still woozy. It was like Mike Tyson punched me. I was like, ugh. Right. And so I drink the water. I said, leave me out in the cold. Maybe it'll help. Well, according to Allie, here's something about my book. Anytime, I can write anything I want in a book, right? It could be a total bald-faced lie if I felt like doing that, which I don't. Mm-hmm. But anytime that somebody else was there, I let them also put in their version of what happened, just to give things more validity. And what Allie had said was that he looked out, he couldn't see me. So he started to get out of the car and he saw me hanging off the car by one hand. And he said I was stone white. And he says, he could tell that I wasn't breathing because I was going, trying to get air. And so he jumps out, he looks at me and he thinks that I'm just about ready to fall. And this is exactly what he said. He goes, first thing I thought is if he hits the ground, he'll never get up, which is exactly what I heard. Right. So he helps me up. I get into the car, right? I'm just sitting in the passenger seat, which is on the left side. And I'm just, it's like I got hit by a bus, right? So I'm holding my eye, the water's still flowing, and we go up in front of Lep Castle. Everybody's coming out, so I'm just sitting in the car, and they go inside. Well, unbeknownst to me, a couple of them went up and asked the Lord of the Manor, how long will it take to get an ambulance here? And he says, why? And they said, because we think Rick is dying. And out in the car, Rick thought he was dying too. And I'm not even being melodramatic. I was positive I was dying because what happened, I'm sitting there and I'm looking out at the front window and I see my vision start going like this, right? And I'm like, whoa, that's not good. And then we got the bed spins. And I'm like, oh, that's. So I'm just sitting there trying to orient myself. And then you know what the iris is, where it goes, and then it's gone? My vision started doing that and I went, oh, damn. Oh boy, I know what that means, right? Well, if you've ever been on an airplane and you flush the toilet and you know that big woof, from here down, that's what happened with my energy. Just went woof, out of me. And I just fell back into the seat and I'm just sitting there and I was like, a couple minutes from now, this is it, right? I mean, there's no doubt I was going to die, right? And I don't know why. I just said out loud, I said, you know what? Got to do a whole lot of things other people haven't. I've been to a lot of places I never thought I'd get to. And if today's my day, I'm okay with it. Right? And about 2 minutes after that, I could feel the energy coming back into me. Right. And then it took a little while, but then the vision cleared up and everything else. And the guys came on. I said, help me out of the car. So they helped me out. And I went in and sat down for about half an hour. And then I felt fine. Right. Well, here's the hook. Once again, right? One of the guys from Scottish Paranormal calls me up and he goes, "You'll never guess what I found out." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Two guys had a gunfight at the Hellfire Club. One of them got shot through the right eye and died."
Wow.
So I figured that guy attached to me and was showing me what happened to him. And I was feeling everything that happened to him. And I think the only thing that saved me is when I said, if today's my day, I'm okay with it. And I think the spirit just went, no. I just wanted you to say no, and backed off. Because otherwise I would not be here. And I'm, I may be an actor sometimes and stuff, but this is 100% as accurate as I can be. I actually thought within a couple minutes I'd be dead.
Wow.
And so did everybody else that was there. So, but it had nothing to do with Leap Castle. It just happened to be where it hit me.
So
absolutely crazy.
With you, being the Hollywood ghost hunters, what was it like to work with Zach Baggin at the Pico Hotel?
It was really cool. Zach and Aaron and Nick were all really nice to us. And the fact that Kane choked Zach.
I bet he was nice. Not to get me choked by Hodder, I'd be on my P's and Q's too.
Well, no, they were sitting
Absolutely.
there. And Zach says to me, he goes, "Well, you've killed more people on screen than anybody." He says, "Did you ever think, that might be something?" And Kane goes, "Yeah, sometimes I'm afraid that I'm just going to," and he gets into a chokehold. He goes, "Just snap and just kill somebody." And he's going like this, and Zach's going, "Ah," right? And he finally goes, oh, sorry. Kane's got a great sense of humor, by the way.
Now, I know that this is a little off topic here, guys, but it has to do with the Hollywood world, because the guy I'm about to ask him about has been in Hollywood. But what is it like, honestly, to talk to that crazy old kook of a wrestler, Terry Funk?
Oh, God. Terry Funk used to sleep on my couch when he would come into town, when he'd come in for an audition. He's a very bright man, and he's got the weirdest sense of humor you'll ever hear. I can't relay any of these stories on air, right? But just trust me. He's a freaking lunatic, but he's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. He really is.
Rick McCallum definitely is not lying about the Terry Funk stories. They are not appropriate for the air, and me and him had a good laugh about him. And I've actually met Terry Funk myself, and that dude is definitely off his rocker, but in a good way.
Well, then you should recognize this. Well, if you've ever met Terry Funk, then you know how he talks, because he talks just like this. And he says, sometimes these young guys, they get hold of your head, and it's just not what it used to be.
Wow, what an impression!
that was absolutely wonderful, man. That was cool.
Well, you have to know him. He's just a good man, but you just have to be there to deal with him once in a while. No, Terry is he's a very, very intelligent man, and he's a very nice guy. He's a really good dude. As a matter of fact, my roommate actually met him when they were both bouncers on Roadhouse, right? And I had a roommate at the time, so he was the one that was actually coming over to sleep on my roommate's couch, but it happened to be my house too, so that's how you got to know Terry. Well, he sent us a video of the Terry Funk Ric Flair I Quit match, and whoever quit had to quit wrestling. So I'm sitting there and I hear a knock on the door, and I said, "Who is it?" And they go, "It's me. Let me in. I need a place to sleep." Right? I opened the door and I said, "Terry." Boom! No quitters. Rick, open the door. I got nowhere else to go.
You know, that I Quit match between him and Flair was actually one of the best matches that Flair and him ever put on in WCW. With with all the paranormal investigating that you do, you know, what are some of your most favorite places in the U.S. to check out?
Well, Sloss Furnace down in Alabama was really good. They don't allow ghost hunting there anymore. Waverly Sanatorium in Kentucky was really good. Mansfield Prison, which I'm going back to this year, was really good. The Omen House out here in Hollywood is really very haunted. I've been there many times. A lot of places out here. The LAPD museum that I was just at the other night just absolutely blew up. I mean, there was stuff going on right and left. So
Nice.
yeah, so there's a lot of places in the U.S. The difference, though, is when you go to Scotland or England or Ireland, the intensity of the ghost hunts is off the chart compared to here. You know, we'll have some stuff, but out there, boy, it's just, you know, over here it'll tickle you. Over there, it punches you in the face. You know.
In your opinion, why is that? Could it be that the wars over in England and Ireland and Australia and all were much more brutal than the wars here in the U.S. were back in the 18 and 1900s?
Well, I think that's exactly why, because, you know, the wars between England and Scotland, you saw the movie Braveheart, which really didn't do the justice. I mean, there's one place I stay. I stay in Roslyn a lot because I love it. It's a little village. And I just happened to walk a couple miles down this street, and I saw a thing that said the monument to the 1303 Battle of Roslyn. And nobody there had said anything about it. So I started asking them. Almost nobody knew about it, right? So I started checking into it, and it was by far the most bloody battle between the English and the Scottish in history. They figured that 35,000 people died. Of the 30,000 English that came over, only about 2,000 survived. And what had actually happened is that the English came to kill one man, Henry St. Clair, who actually a lot of people seem to think he was very big in the Knights Templar. And he's, you know, his family is the one who finally ended up building Roslyn Chapel. But 30,000 these people came because one of the king's friends wanted to marry the girl that was going to marry him. And the whole idea was back then they did marriages of convenience to make, you know, alliances stronger. And the king says, okay, so he gave him 30,000 soldiers to attack to kill Henry St. Clair, right? Well, the people of Scotland heard about it, and, you know, like a bunch of them showed up, you know, the night before, and they were horrendously outnumbered. And then just before the fight started, a whole bunch of other people showed up. And there's actually, from what I understand, two groups, but it's hard to find all the exact evidence. But one of them for sure was this guy that not a lot of people, you know, they knew who he was, but because the way Scotland was, but he had a little army, and his name was William Wallace. Okay, the guy from Braveheart. So he brought his army in there to take him on, and then right towards the way it was going, supposedly there were a whole bunch of horsemen that came in wearing white robes with a red cross on them. So it was like the Knights Templar jumped in too. Now that I've never been able to confirm, but I've heard it several times that the Templars, who had a place like 8 miles from there, had actually jumped in because of Sinclair. But the 8,000 Scotsmen killed 28,000 of the English. Most bloodiest battle in history, and the Scots just routed them.
Holy crap. So if you had to sit here and pick, I mean, the personal opinion here, but you get the UK, you get Ireland, you get Scotland, you get Japan and Australia. which one of them countries do you think has the most haunted activity?
Well, I think Scotland does. I've never been to Japan. I've been to Ireland. It has its share, but it's, like Hellfire Club is very famous. Lep Castle is very famous.
Right.
But just the same, there's plenty of places like that in Scotland. And Scotland just seems to be very, very haunted. But England also has, there's some there that are just stupid haunted. I'd been taken over there by Premier Paranormal from Scotland. My friend Brian Harley took me to England to ghost hunt, and we went to a place called the Norwich Theatre, and this was an actual theater, not a movie theater. Okay, and we were going around, and people were seeing apparitions and everything else, and I wasn't getting much. And finally, we went underneath the stage where they had half of the room underneath the stage was blocked off by a big, thick pipe about, that big, right? And you couldn't go on that side because it was all empty except for the electrical stuff and the things to pull the curtains and anything else they were going to do. So we're standing there, and I'm standing right against the pipe, and the other people are behind me. And I look over, and there's somebody standing like 4 feet from me, and looking down like this, and it's like, is he reading a book? Is he looking at a K2 meter? What is it? So I look back to ask Mandy, who's the head of Anubis, and she's looking at me, with big eyes. And I went, and I turned around and looked back, and there's nobody there, right? And she said to me, she goes, "You saw him too, didn't you?" I said, "Saw him. I could have tapped him on the freaking head." Right? He was only like an arm's length away from me. So
that's crazy.
But Mandy Fellows is a majorly good ghost hunter. So the fact that she saw it too was pretty good validation.
Nice. Jason, you got any questions for Mr. McCallum?
You were out here in Arizona this last weekend, and you had a new investigator with you. How did you two meet up?
Well, we actually met Tony Rathman. I don't know if you know Tony. Is a very good ghost hunter, and he has his own show, and he produces other shows. I had met his son, Dylan, at the live stream. I was doing an event called Haunted and Alone from the Phelps Dodge Hospital. And Dylan was there because Tony was there doing a lot of the tech work, right? And I got to meet Dylan. He's a really cool kid. And as the night progressed, I had out my thermal imager, and I'm looking through it, and I see what looks like the shape of a baby crawling on the ground. And I want somebody to see this right away. And Dylan's standing outside. I said, "Dylan, come here." So he comes over, and I said, "What is that?" And he looks, he goes, "It looks like a baby crawling on the floor." I said, "Yeah, it really does." And then it was gone. So right there was the nursery. I said, "Dylan, come with me." And we went into the nursery. I said, "Sit down, take this K2 meter," right? And I wanted to see if the younger vibe would help stuff in a nursery. So he started getting a lot of stuff, right? And I was kind of coaching him along. But he's ghost hunted with his father for 8 years, and Tony's a great ghost hunter. So he's well versed, right? So we started getting a lot of stuff, and then it stopped. And I took the K2 meter and I walked over and I said, "Let me see what I can get." And I started asking if there were any children there. Nothing was happening. So I had like this epiphany, and I leaned down and put the K2 down where the little kids would be. And boom, 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 the K2 started going off after every question, which was really cool.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
But we went back, and then we sat down again, and we were asking more questions. And finally, everything seemed to be slowing down. And I said, "Dylan, ask them if they'll make that go all 5 lights right now, we'll leave." So he says that, and boom, instantly, all 5 lights. And Dylan looks up and goes, "What do we do now?" I said, "We leave." Right? So everybody that had watched that show seemed to really like the interaction of the young guy and the not so young guy.
It's really cool that young's getting into it.
Or not, but this right here is not paint.
Oh, come on. I thought that was a special effect. I thought you were going to rip it off and say you were really only, 25, 30 years old.
No. No. So we did another ghost hunt down at the 1910 Globe Jail. And it was me and Dylan. It was a live feed. And we didn't get a lot. but we investigated the hell out of that place. So, but it was fun to go hunting with him. You're
Right,
going
you
to
locked
see-
him up too, didn't you?
I did, yes.
So Rick, while you were at the jail, did you ever make contact with Kingsley Olds, or did you not?
No, I tried to. I was in his room many times. I thought his name was Kingsley Adams.
No, it's Kingsley Olds. He was accused of killing the 2 little girls back in 1911.
I went all
they
through that with him. I went all through that with the questions. I said, you killed your boss's daughters and stuff like that. And then I actually showed exactly how he got killed. And we showed the line. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. He got shot from across the street from a window that was up higher. But there was bars on the window, obviously. But he was also in a cell that was, by itself, all barred in. So whoever shot him had to shoot from up above through the one window and the bars and through the other bars and hit him. So whoever was doing the shooting was not some amateur by any imagination.
Right.
A lot of people think it's the guy, not the father. They think he hired somebody that was like a military guy or something to shoot him.
A sniper or something.
Yeah, but no, Kingsley did not make an appearance, and I made several attempts to contact him. So,
right, there was, you notice in that jail they don't have a kitchen. So back in the day, they didn't make their food there; they had to have it delivered in, and they used to have a Chinaman that would deliver the food there. And there's a story that when he would deliver the food to the inmates at the jail, some of them didn't like Chinese food, and there was a joke about it that the Chinaman would say, "Okay, like you today, you like you tomorrow." And he would leave.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, they were showing us the women's cells and how the they had a different bathroom and that sort of thing. So,
right,
very interesting place. Very interesting. But
My question. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say we didn't get a lot of activity, but a couple things did happen. We were standing there in the one cell block, and me and this guy Roger, big guy that was with the hosting group, and we're standing there, and I hear somebody talking right behind us, like, "Hey, dude, how's it going?" And I went, and I should have said that, right? And one of the things that's really funny about me is I'm about half deaf, but I hear stuff that nobody else hears, right? And then they'll say, "No, we didn't hear it," and then you'll hear it when they go back to the tapes. When we did the Aho, now this is really cool. The Phelps Dodge Hospital, we were on the 3rd floor, and they said the farthest room on the 3rd floor on the left was severely haunted by negative energy. So I walked down there, and as I walked in the room, I felt like somebody walked through me. Right, and it was like, "Holy crap, what was that?" And it was negative. So I came back out, and I was walking down there, and this girl that was there had the spirit box going, which I can't stand when you're inside someplace that it can't work, right? And it's going, and the guy filming is there and everything else. And I lean up against the wall, and I hear, "Rick!" And I look down there, and I go, "Did you guys hear that?" They went, "No." I said, "You didn't hear somebody scream from that room?" They said, "No." Okay. So anyway, I was on Tony's show a couple weeks later, and he goes, "Oh, by the way, I looked through all of Jim's stuff because it was on Spirit Room." He said, "I looked at all of his stuff, and it's not on there." He said, "But my camera was running," and he plays it, and you can hear a voice yell, right? So I sent it to a bunch of different people. I said, "Tell me what this voice is saying," and every one of them said the same thing. I said, they all sent back and said, "It's yelling, Rick." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I thought." So, but I do hear things that other people don't. Like just the other night at the museum, twice you hear me say, "Did you hear that?" I heard a woman's voice, right? "No, we didn't hear anything." "I just heard it again." And they go, "I didn't hear anything." Well, this one girl, Cheryl Plum, who's extraordinarily good at audio, she was there, and she had her thing going, and she goes, "Listen to these 2 spots." And you hear a girl, a high-pitched girl, so, like, "Ah," right? You hear me go, "Did you hear that?" Right? It's a woman's voice. And they said, "No." And then you hear, "Ah," again. I said, You didn't hear that either. You sent it to me. You can hear the voices. It's like, come on, man. I'm old and half deaf, and I can hear that stuff. And I don't,
We
So did you
call
have a
them-
good time at Tombstone?
what's that?
Did you have a good time at Tombstone?
Yeah, actually, it was a follow-up to another story. Billy Hunley, the guy who owns the place, I don't know if he still does or not, but he has something to do with it if he doesn't. He had let me go in and ghost hunt with just he and I, many years ago. And it turned out to be a total flop of a ghost hunt, and not because of anything about Billy. I put up 9 pieces of equipment, and all 9 of them were dead within 45 minutes.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, I mean, it just said, like, get out. Turned all my stuff off. Get out of here, right?
Oh, wow.
But a couple of years after that, I was sitting there, and I saw the thing that I had downloaded. So I said, oh, let's watch this. I never watched this. So when I was down in the poker room, I don't know if you guys have ever been there. The poker room is downstairs, and right next to it is the bordello. I mean, like 5 feet away is the bordello.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I left my camera on the banister and went upstairs. And as I was walking up, I asked 2 questions. I said, did you get killed down here? Did you kill somebody down here? And I went upstairs and was ghost hunting. When I came back down, Billy and I came down, and we're walking down the stairs. And as soon as we get down there, you hear Billy say something, and then you hear a voice that had a Hispanic accent say very clearly, I had to.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So obviously, it was, I had to kill somebody. So I called up Billy and I said, Billy, I'm coming back that way. Do you think I could get downstairs for like 20 minutes? Right. And I sent him the thing, and he all he sent back was, wow. And I said, I got to find out who that is. Right. So he snuck me in because they had people coming, getting ready for a ghost hunt and stuff. So I go downstairs. There's other people walking through there. And how long do you think it took until I got an answer from this guy?
10 minutes.
Jason?
5 minutes.
Eldon?
I'll go in the middle. 7.5 minutes.
38 seconds.
Damn.
38 seconds. And I asked, I asked a few questions, and I said, did you ever see anybody else get down here? And it goes, yes. So 38 seconds is all it took for me to get another answer out of that guy. So I called Billy up and I said, Billy, there's somebody down there that really likes to talk. You need people to get down there with recorders and start chatting with this fella,
Mhm.
So, and I went from there. I drove over to Globe and did the Globe. And then I drove from there back here. And on Monday, I did the LAPD Museum. And now all I want to do is sleep for about 3 weeks.
Well, my question to you is, Rick, is you've gone to the Southeast, you've gone to the East Coast and different countries, but when are you gonna grace us with your presence here in the Northwest?
Well, I was just at Wolf Creek Inn 6 months ago, if you know where that is. That's in Oregon.
Oh, okay.
And that place was wild.
Oh, yeah.
I got to quit going to these places and wearing my Hollywood Ghost Hunter shirt because I figured, I'd get in there. It's a small inn, very famous for being haunted. I'd sneak around, right? Well, it's well known for being haunted. And everybody that came in there would say, well, is this place haunted? Well, Rick McCallum, the Hollywood Ghost Hunters, is ghost hunting here tonight. So I go out there at night, and everybody from the hotel, there's like 12 people. Hey, can we go?
I would tell you what, Rick, the next time you come to the Northwest, I'd definitely like you to give me a jingle. I'll take you to the Idaho State Penitentiary in Boise. I can take you to the Jameson Inn and Bordello in Wallace.
Is it still open?
They are temporarily closed, but knowing my good sleuthing skills in Wallace, I can find them.
They're not
But
hard.
we've got,
They're not hard to find.
we've got St. Ignatius Hospital. We've got stuff in Seattle, down in Portland. I need a road trip.
Well, go down. Well, then you take part of the road trip. That's a long way for me, I'll meet you in Wolf Creek. How's that sound?
Fair enough.
And you guys are invited too.
Awesome.
Cool.
Actually, going down to Arizona, that's where Global is based out of, is Phoenix.
Really?
And we've got, a couple ghost towns down there and everything that we could introduce you to. And
Well, I know if
there's
you
a
Well,
lot of good stuff.
I'll tell you, since
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, Rick, go ahead.
No,
Since
you-
Rick has been to Arizona and he's been to Tombstone, he's been to Globe, I think by now he's gotten a pretty good introduction to Arizona. I don't know, Rick, if you've ever done or been to Jerome, Arizona.
I have not, but that's another place on my list. And there's two others too, Bisbee and Wickenburg are other
Absolutely.
places. There's a couple named Jay and Marie Yates that had told me all about Wickenburg, but they don't live there anymore. So,
Right.
but yeah, eventually if I have to go back down that way, I'm going to take a swing through. But I always have to go to Tombstone. There's just something about it that draws me to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's something magical that it's like midnight and you're walking down the middle of Tombstone and there's nobody out. It's totally quiet.
It just feels like you're in the Old West. It really
Yeah.
does.
Well,
There's no real lights out there. You can see every star in the sky. I mean, it's just,
Yep.
it's magic.
I've noticed the best time to be in Tombstone, especially if you're just going to be, and I'd say the best place to really investigate in Tombstone is out on Allen Street. That's got to be the best place. I mean, I've been in the Birdcage,
amazing, yeah.
I've been in Big Nose Gates and all those
Yep.
locations, but the best place I've gotten the evidence in is right there on Allen Street between 1:30 and 2:00 in the morning and 4 a.m.
Well, I'll tell you one place that I did ghost hunt was the OK Corral. And I had actually really researched it, and I researched it with the people that were the experts there. And actually, two of the guys did not die in the OK Corral. They died out on Fremont Street.
Correct.
And I was out there one night about, 11 at night, and I've got my K2 meter out, and I'm standing there next to a telephone pole, and this one guy walks up to me and he goes, "I know what you're doing." I said, "Okay, what am I doing?" He goes, "You're checking where they actually died." And I said, "Well, how would you know that?" He goes, "Because I'm one of the tour guides." And I said, "The other one's right over there." And he says, "Did you get anything?" I said, "Just when I walked by the Fly's, photography and guest house thing there." And then it just went, the K2 meter went crazy on that. But that could have been something inside. But yeah, it's just something really, really cool about Tombstone.
Yeah, it's really cool.
By the way, do you guys know the last words that Wyatt Earp ever said?
No.
No.
He was being interviewed for a newspaper or a magazine article, and the guy goes, "Can you really tell us the true story of, the gunfight at the OK Corral?" And he looks at him for a couple seconds, and he goes, "Suppose."
Oh, wow.
So the last word he said was "suppose." What were you gonna say? I want to know.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That's the thing that sucks about Spokane is it is so full of paranormal history. In 1892, we had what they called the Great Fire of Spokane. It started in a kitchen with a grease fire, burnt down the entire downtown area. No trains would come in or out to help save people. Burnt down numerous schools, banks, hotels, restaurants. Supposedly, nobody died in the fire, but they bulldozed everything over and make 6 more city blocks. And then you got, apartment complexes that are buried on top of native burial grounds. We've had 2 serial killers here in the downtown area, but all these places that are haunted, they want to be known for their paranormal. So nobody can get into them, and it just really sucks.
So Brian, we are reaching about the 9:00 hour. We can go into an encore for a bit if you'd like. Probably about 15 minutes on the encore if you guys want. and we'll wrap her up about 9:15. And I'll tell you, man, there's a lot of information with Rick McCallum that he's got a lot of knowledge. He's got a lot of information to share with us. And I would really love to have him back for a part 2, man. I mean, this is fabulous stuff.
This has been fun.
Anytime you want. But one thing, and I'm not trying to sell a book because, frankly, I don't keep the profits from the book. I send them to St. Jude.
Okay.
Well, that's even better.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stories in there. I mean, even people that are really into ghost hunting come back and go, "Holy crap!"
So is this the book, Rick, right here that you're referring to?
That is, and actually, that is a picture from the Hellfire Club in Dublin, Ireland.
All right, so guys, you can go on to Amazon and you can purchase this book that Rick McCallum put out, and it's on sale for $9.99 over there right now. So small fee for a lot of information. I think it's a fabulous deal. It is a good book, and I suggest anybody interested to check it out, and let's purchase this book from him and give him a little bit of love over there and support.
Well, I, for one, already have that book in my Amazon cart for sure. I'm buying that book.
Sweet. You'll like it.
Before we hop off here, Rick, I have a couple pictures I want to pull up, and I kind of want you to explain them to me.
Wait a minute. It's not the one of me in the Cinderella dress. I thought I hid that.
No, I didn't get the one drunk on the can stage in a group. You're all right. I got you.
Okay.
All right. First picture, this one right here.
That is from Project Metal Beast. I was doubling Barry Bostwick, and Kane was playing the Metal Beast, which was a giant 7-foot werewolf. And he hits Barry in the face, and Barry goes flying through the air, hits a steel door upside down, goes down, lands on his head, spins around, and they pick him up and throw him into all these steel stuff. Of course, Barry didn't do that. but there is a funny story. I'll tell you real quick. Because we'd gone so late, the special effects makeup people had left. And I had all that on my face. So I had to go home with it, right? And my T-shirt had the blood that had been dripping off of that. So I stopped at 7-Eleven to get a 6-pack of Pepsi. And I walked in, and this guy's just looking at me with huge eyes, and he goes, I said, "What's the matter?" Because I forgot about it, right? He goes like this. He goes, "Yeah, your face." And I went, "Oh, I've got a cat." I just walked out.
Oh, wow.
No big deal.
The final picture I'm going to pull up, this is actually with one of my favorite horror movie stars, besides, of course, Mr. Freddy, and I better mention Hodder because, I don't want him to come choke me out if I don't mention he's my second idol. But what was it like to be in this movie?
Oh, that was pretty cool. That's me on the right side. I doubled Sid Haig in Devil's Rejects. Mm-hmm. Sid was an awesome man. Sid is also in a couple of the Hatchet movies. So I did 3 movies with him. So he's a really good guy. Sad that he passed, but good man.
Most definitely. Rob Zombie. Did you get to actually sit down and talk to Rob Zombie?
No, he myself and the girl that was doubling Sherry Moon, right, his wife. We were in the scene where the car's racing and we're shooting the guns and everything else, and they all die.
Right.
Oh yeah, at the end.
Yeah. So they bring us over, and Rob is over there, and the production guy is over there, and he said, "This is the doubles," and Rob just looks over and he goes, That's the extent of my interaction with Rob Zombie.
Wow.
He nodded.
So, is there anything coming up in the future that you want to let our fans know before we end the podcast?
Yeah, there's another thing that I'm doing that might be kind of interesting. It's going to be a live stream. It's going to be on April 2nd. And I'm sure most of you know who Patty Negri is. She's a well-known psychic medium.
Mhm.
She'll be.
She and I are going to be ghost hunting the Winchester Mystery House.
Oh,
And
amazing.
Jose.
So that's coming up. And then the July 11th to the 19th is the tour in Scotland. And like I said, there's still like 2 places left. If you go to my page or to Ghosts Believe in Me on Facebook, you can read about the book, and you can also read about the tour. So
Awesome.
if you're looking for a good tour to go on, there it is. And I got to tell you, this is a secret, but there's some amazing paranormal people that are going along with us.
Nice.
So,
Care to elaborate who that might be?
no,
Damn.
no.
I tried, guys. I tried. Sorry.
Well, I will tell you, they have a lot of history and a lot of weight in the paranormal field. Okay, they've had a lot to do with a lot of really well-known shows.
Very cool.
Okay, I'll make you a bargain, Rick. We
No,
each
not
get
telling.
one guess, and if we guess it, you got to tell us.
No, it's not the way it
Damn.
works. No, the reason people tell me stuff is because I tell them I won't tell anybody, so I'm not telling anybody. I will tell you one of the people.
Good on you, man.
I will tell you one of the people that's going with us is Kat Hobson from Fate Magazine Radio. Who's one of my best friends. So looking forward to that. By the way, I have to tell you something. You said your child is autistic,
Yes, sir.
and I think I told you this, but I think the world should know this. Autistic kids love Kane. They just absolutely gravitate towards him, and he is so nice to them. I mean, they climb him like he's a redwood, right? There was one where this little kid came up and just jumped in his lap, and Kane was talking to him. And when finally, he had to go back and talk to the other guests, he put the little guy down, and the mother was crying. And Kane goes, "Why are you crying?" And she goes, "That's the first time he's ever looked anybody in the eyes." So,
Oh,
my
wow.
gosh. So Kane being the big vicious guy is actually real soft-hearted. So
That's amazing.
Yeah, you'd never think that from a guy who wears a hockey mask with a vast array of weaponry that he likes to use.
well, he is. I don't know if you ever saw his documentary. It's called To Hell and Back, and it's it's on other stuff. Look it up. It's one of the best damn documentaries I've ever seen. I actually happen to be in it, which is kind of cool. But I mean, Robert Englund is in it. Bruce Campbell's in it. A lot of other horror people are in it. So, and I snuck in there somehow. I don't know. Must have been an open chair, and I snuck into the pile.
Very nice.
But I'm telling you, if you like horror movies, go watch To Hell and Back. It is awesome. Kane actually asked me. Kane doesn't like to go see stuff that he's in, right? So he asked me. He says they're showing the rough cut of Hell and Back. Can you go and watch? He says sit in the back row. Don't let anybody know you're there. And I felt like saying nobody knows who I am in the first place. I can sit anywhere I want. I'm always under monster makeup. My own family doesn't recognize me in movies. But so I go there and I watch it, and I get back, and Kane calls me. He goes, "Well, how was it?" I said, "It was really, really good." And he goes, "Be honest with me. What would you change?" I said, "I wouldn't change a thing." And he goes, "No, be honest with me." He said, "You know me a long time. Be honest with me." I said, "Okay. You're really starting to annoy me." And here's the other part. It's really freaking good. Don't change anything. But I tell you, there's people. When we saw the open, you could see people just kind of, all through the audience. So it's really good.
Yeah, that was a very well put together documentary.
Yeah, it really is.
It really was good.
And I actually got a little cranky in it too. They asked me a question, and I just went, "Hey," because Kane almost died from the burns he got. He was in the hospital for 4 months, and the guy was, it was a bad scene all around. But the guy said something, the person asking, and I just looked over and I said, "Hey, nobody gave Kane anything. He worked his ass off for everything he got." Right? And everybody's like, "Oh, you're getting a little surly." I said, "Well, he's my buddy. You can't be picking on him." Right?
Yeah.
The last person you see in the movie, you see Robert Englund. This is after the credits. And then I pop up the last thing, and I just look at the camera and I said, You know, Kane has killed more people on screen with his bare hands and implements than anybody in history. Just thought you'd like to know that. So that's how the movie ends. It's actually it's really, really good. I bought 2 copies. I bought 2 copies of it. You'd think I'd have some clout with the star, right? But no.
I actually have to look at that now. Has Kane actually killed more people than Freddy?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, easily. And you have to remember something, that besides that, Kane has been Ed Gein. He's been the TBK killer. He's been all these other killers too. So he's.
I meant in the Jason or Freddy series.
Well, I think it's still Jason. You know, you know that the Freddy Krueger story is based on a true story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was actually a guy, and his name was Fred Krueger, and he was abducting children, and I think he was killing them. And finally, the people figured out who it was, and they chased him into his barn, and they burned the barn down with him in it.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. That's crazy.
At least that's what I
All right, guys. So looks like we're reaching the end here.
So Coleman, there,
never say that to a guy my age.
Sorry, Rick.
We're reaching the end.
No.
Do you want to tell any of our fans, you know, how to get a hold of you, where to watch your live streams or anything like that?
Well, if you watch Dark Zone TV, I'm a member of that. And if you watch spiritrealm.net, I also do some stuff with them. You can go to Rick McCallum on Facebook. You can go to Ghost Believe in Me on Facebook. You can go to Hollywood Ghost Hunters on Facebook, and I answer everything. So,
and don't forget, let's get his book there on Amazon, guys. We got to get this book. You got to read it. It's good stuff.
Most definitely. Oh, Rick,
and it's a good cause. So,
Rick, it has been an absolute honor to have you on here. Just to let you know, not to be mushy, but you're one of my idols in the horror movies industry, man. And I am so glad that I have the opportunity to meet you and speak with you. And thank you for coming on the show.
Well, I gotta say, I'm glad I met all you guys. But I want to tell you one quick story before you leave from what you said.
Absolutely.
We were at Scarefest, and Kane had a booth down, being Jason, and then RA had a booth next to me being Leatherface, and then there was me with the Hollywood Ghost Hunters and other stuff. And this one guy comes up and he goes, "Oh, I really like your group, but those guys down there have a TV show." And I said, "Yeah, we've done 300 movies. We win."
Game over.
Oh, that's great.
All right, guys. Well,
It's been such a pleasure.
We'll see you later.
If you want to do a part 2,